Hey everyone, Internet PCS book reader here. Today I want to talk about Berserk Millennium Falcon arc by Kentaro Miura. Now, in my previous video of Berserk, where I go through the conviction arc, we go back to angry edgy gods after going through the eclipse, but around the end of that arc, after a lot of encounters with other people, a brief conversation with Godot the blacksmith who is at his deathbed, and a brief moment to self-reflect, there's a slight change to Guts. He still had his inner demon, but he had definitely matured in ways Berserk Hater has yet to experience. We also see at the end of that arc after the pseudo eclipse that Griffith has returned using the Word Egg. He reincarnated himself back to the world. Here we see a moment where God's growth is showing, where he don't immediately got blinded by rage when he saw Griffith. And at that time, the temporary party that was formed during the fight had to split up because of the incoming army. Guts and Casca escape using a horse while mowing down enemies, separating them from the others. Meanwhile, Isidro decided to follow Guts since he's a kid who looks up to him. The same with Varnish wanting to know more about the strength to struggle that Guts have, and Serpico go wherever Varnish goes. The war has gone even stranger after the two back-to-back eclipses so close to each other. Children can even feel a weird change in the forest when they were distracted by shots flying above the forest. But something in the forest is being born and it doesn't seem to be a blessing waiting to happen. Meanwhile, Guts and Casca manage to return to Godot's place with him already gone while they're away, making Berserk one of the rare manga where you can feel that time progresses even further. And now Guts have a choice to live there protecting them all, but knowing that Griffith is out there somewhere, it is still a very difficult choice for Guts to make. But once again, Griffith took that choice away from him. He's there at Godot's place with Rickard, so that's where Guts is also going. Seeing Griffith, Guts immediately tried to attack, but Rickard, not knowing what happened at the eclipse, tried to stop him. Guts and Griffith managed to have a short conversation during the pause made by Rickard, where Griffith once again showed his true color as one of the most self-centered men in fiction. He showed no regrets and no empathy to his friends, making Guts go on another rampage. But the one that stopped him is not Griffith, it's Zod. They had a long fight where Guts once again managed to push him to transform into his Nosferatu form. They are still fighting when Casca arrived, feeling her baby that is fused with Griffith now, and maybe that's why Griffith, that was supposed to have abandoned his humanity, saved her when the priest from the fight was about to crush her. Griffith and Zod then leave, searching once again for his own kingdom. Here's where Rickard finally got the truth from Guts. Everything turns into a mess every time Griffith is involved, and it's the same here. The mine was destroyed by Zod, so their home is gone. With their home gone, the protection that the Elfland have from the brand is also gone. Rickard managed to go with Guts to find Griffith, but where does that leave Erika? Guts wanted to go after Griffith, but where does that leave Casca? Thankfully, the mighty Puck once again comes to the rescue. His home is another land of elf where Casca can stay safe, so following that suggestion, Guts, Puck and Casca goes on another journey to Puck's home, Elfhelm. Meanwhile, Guts refused to take Rickard, one because he know unlike him, Rickard doesn't have a headbone on him. And Guts reminds him of Godot's last word that he should take care of Erika more than he should take care of Guts and Casca, who's always in danger due to the exposed sacrificial brand. Meanwhile, war is still ongoing with the current Kusan invasion, and it didn't take long until Griffith go back into the war scene. He took out the leader of the Kusan army swiftly, and with his god hand power, he avoided all the attack. That without even counting the help he got from Zod. Then a strange-looking knight named Locus joined, then an assassin named Raxas joined, and finally a giant knight with a giant shield joined. The band of Hulk is once again forming on Midland, with the false prophet Griffith as their leader. Here we had a small flashback to containing Varnish and Serpico's complicated relationship, two half-siblings who become so twisted because of their deadbeat father. Then we continue on the journey of our main party to Elfheim. Guts has been constantly on battle due to the combination of both of his and Casca's brand and the flock of demons that are constantly after them. He pushed himself so thin that his inner demons are constantly barking at him now, and in a moment of weakness from a demon attack, he attacked Casca, almost killing her if not because of Puck and his own will. But as a result of the attack, Casca is now afraid of him. He's now not just fighting to survive but also fighting to protect, which is something he's not used to do, especially when the current Casca kept reminding him of what he has lost. Both fatigue and distrust started to build, and one day when Guts does for a moment, Casca managed to run away from him. Thankfully she managed to defend herself when she got into trouble, but Guts separated from Puck and he found her alone. Because of his weaknesses that have accumulated from all the stress from the journey, he attacked Casca once again, but thankfully once again he didn't fully lose his self-control. Meanwhile, Puck found Isidro running away from Varnish and Serpico instead. They regroup with Guts and beg for him to be allowed to follow him. Guts, realizing that he can no longer trust himself alone with Casca, decided to let them follow him. For the first time ever in his life, he had a group outside of Griffith's group, so now there's two band of Hulk, one formed by the resurrected Griffith and one formed around Guts. Griffith goes from one war to another, amassing people with his charisma, because just like in real life, confident, well-spoken, and charismatic people attracted others, even if that charismatic people is a snake like Griffith. And hidden beneath the surface level of the happiness of the people Griffith rescued from war are demons lurking around waiting to be fed on these people. And just like in real life, once again, young people flocks to these snakes. Meanwhile, God's party are forming somewhat of a bond themselves, having to fight demons at night together every time. Serpico is a servant from lower class society that can do a little bit of everything, including cooking and cleaning, so he can take care of himself and others. Isidro lives on the street, so besides sparring with gods, he can take care of himself. Varnish is the one who faced the most difficulty since she's a nobility who used to have others to care of her. But at least she's becoming more self-aware about her own capability outside of her own bubble, and for the first time ever in her life, she might be happy, and that also changed Serpico from someone who also don't have his own identity outside of being Varnish's servant. It's a comforting moment of growth that the party have, but this is Berserk. So a troll attacked them when they were resting. Isidro managed to stop the troll while Guts and Serpico goes away, but there's not much else he can do. This is when we are introduced to another character. A little witch with her own elf, an actual witch that can cast magic unlike the normal people that the church burns all the time. The witch helps them, but she's gone right away because of Isidro being a dumbass. The group went ahead and found an old man who are looking for the rumored witch because his village is under attack by the trolls. They travel together to the witch place which they can enter thanks to Guts and Casca's sacrificial brand. They meet Flora, the ancient witch, most likely one of the few people who know the truth of the world of Berserk more than anyone else in the world. She decided to help the old man village by sending Sirke, the little witch that helped the party earlier. She also recruited Guts' party to help out, which at first Guts refused, but she offered a talisman that can help ease the effect of the sacrificial brand, so Guts decided to help out, hoping that it can help him become a safer person to Casca. They have a rare moment to rest in the witch house since it's a safe space that can be a sanctuary for a while. The party also had the most Dungeon and Dragon moment in the manga ever here. Serpico got an equipment blessed by the wind spirit, Isidro got one with the fire, and Varnish and Casca also got some silver equipment. Guts was offered an axe, but he preferred the dragon sword since he's already so familiar with the sword. Sirke doesn't really trust Guts' party since she doesn't trust normal human who push her teacher away from society because of religion, but Flora told her to witness for herself on what she can learn from these people that she's not going to be able to learn from all the books she's read. They went out as a full party with a whole new equipment to the village along with the old man. They didn't receive the warmest welcome in the village, especially with a priest that would prefer to burn the witch there, but the troll attacked before anything could happen. They fight harder than they could since this fight is not just to protect themselves but also the villagers. Sirke tasked them to give her more time and protect the villagers so she could finish her spell. The priest almost ruined everything, but Varnish, realizing how similar the priest is with who she used to be, stopped him. There's a few problems, but everyone managed to protect the villager until Sirke finished her spell and the church building is protected from the monster. We had a little bit more of an explanation about the spirit and the spell and their relationship with the world of Berserk here, but bigger monsters started coming out. Ogre that is much taller than the trolls, and even Kelpie, a horse-like monster that can use water magic. Guts and Serpico goes out to fight them while once again Sirke tried to find a spell to get rid of the monster. She managed to find the water spirit Undine and casted a spell that got rid of all the monsters with a flood. And mostly everyone are happy about it, except for Isidro being the only one sulking because he felt how useless he is in the fight. With the only time he faced his fear, he almost died if not because of the old man who saved him from a deadly blow. And Sirke, who got mesmerized by the water spirit because of her spell. Varnish managed to save her, but because of a tremor that shook the building, she and Casca fell into the flood and got carried into the monsters. So immediately after the fight to protect the villager, they had to go to rescue Casca and Varnish. Okay, this is maybe the 5th or 6th time that Miura had to rely on Casca being a damsel in distress that needed saving to progress the plot, which is getting a bit repetitive, I know. But fortunately, the focus of Berserk starting from this arc doesn't only rely on Guts' progress as a human being, but also the other characters. Serpico, who got wounded, needed to rely on others in order to save Varnish, learning more and more that the world is not just the two of them versus everyone. Ishitaro and Shirka, who is on their own coming of age story, and Varnish, who is starting to find things she cares about outside of herself, even willing to put her body on the line to save Casca from an earlier attack. And their character dynamic is turning out to be some of the best party dynamic ever written, with them having to be tested over and over again because of Guts and Casca brand. Following Shirka's trekking, the party went to the forest that has turned into a clipot, the astral world of darkness. Because of Griffith forcing himself into the world, the whole world is starting to melt with the astral world, causing various monsters to come out. Casca and Varnish woke up and tried to protect themselves from the trolls, but there's only so much she can do against the mob. Thankfully, the party arrived quickly due to Shirka's guidance. Guts stayed behind to help back the army trolls that are much more than they realize, so the others can escape along with all the kidnapped villagers they found there. But Slan, one of the god hand, appeared and easily overpowered Guts. Skull Knight, who've been following them since the witch hut, came in to help, and with him distracting Slan, Guts managed to stab her back. Meanwhile, with Ishitaro's help, after he got encouragement from Guts, he managed to defeat a troll boss in a fight and helped Shirka finish her spell to protect the escapee. After she got stabbed, the clipot collapsed with Slan going away after promising to come back for Guts. He managed to escape with the Skull Knight activating his sword using all the behalits he consumed from killing apostles. He can now tear the fabric of space and fast travel, and with that he took Guts back to his party member. They all went back to the village where we got one of the all-time favorite Berserk banner for a lot of his reader. Guts realizing that he once again have people he can call companion. And usually this is where I will stop my video since it's been too long and I am still recording and editing using my phone because I have a 9 to 5 job and don't have that much free time. But I really don't want to separate the Millennium Falcon that much into two videos since it might be the best arc in manga history. So we continue. The party will return to the witch hut after they got back together. Because they cannot stay for long since Guts and Casca is still branded, so the party returned to the witch hut after they got back together, even with Guts' heavy injury. But what they did not know is that the hut was under attack. The Skeleton Knight tried to fight some of them, but these attacks are done by Apostle, plural. Usually one of them took a whole arc for Guts to fight, and now there's a dozen of them there. These are the war demons who fought for Griffith, and they're not here alone. Zod even came along with them with Grand Belt that requested for a duel with the injured Guts. With his injury and lack of equipment, Guts can barely defend on his fight with Grand Belt. Meanwhile, the Skeleton Knight was held back by Zod as usual, so the Apostle can do whatever they want to the others. With her last breath, Flora asks Shirka to give Guts an armor that she's prepared for him. They use a clay golem to distract Grand Belt and manage to help Guts equip the armor. If you think the armor looks cursed, it's because it is. The Magi called the armor a fetish, a word that used to describe another item in Berserk, the behelit. It's the Berserker armor made by dwarves. It caused Guts to be consumed by his inner demon and forgot all about the feeling of pain, making him destroy himself with each exaggerated movement. The armor changed shape following Guts' Berserk state, and with it, Guts managed to defeat Brandhel until he decided to transform to his apostle form, a dragon. Guts is killing himself fighting this second form, but with a push from Flora, Shirka goes inside Guts' mind to help him restore his mind. She sees the form of Guts' anger and witnessed the eclipse that Guts and Casca experienced, and thankfully she also saw Guts' ego flickering protected by Flora's magic. She managed to remind him why he was so angry to Griffith, and for what reason does he force himself to equip the armor, if not to protect Casca. Guts snapped out of his berserk and decided to save his party member and escape. Meanwhile, back in Windham, the city has gone to ruin. Bodies litter the city from top to bottom and monsters are everywhere. Kaniska the Dread has declared war with only Griffith's Bannerhawk having a chance to fight back. That is because like them, Kaniska is an inhuman apostle. Locust from the Bannerhawk arrived and attacked Kaniska and asked him why Kaniska doesn't follow their master Griffith. Not liking Kaniska's answer, he transformed to his apostle form and both parties used their demon armies to fight against each other. The archers from the Bannerhawk tried to snipe Kaniska, so he also transformed into his apostle form. And while both monsters are fighting outside, Griffith visited Princess Charlotte that was captured by Kaniska, and with Zod he carried the princess away, and because they've got what they came from, Locust escaped leaving Kaniska furious, realizing that this is all just a distraction to fool him. Going back to Guts' party, they've come close to the sea while they're on their way to Elfheim. Griffith still felt the pain from all the fight and his body has changed, looking frailer than he used to be, and his hair got a tinge of white now. But for this moment at least, he felt peaceful looking at Casca happy with their teammates. Berserk is a brutal word, and it is easy to assume that people read Berserk because of its violence. But those people dismiss these moments that carry the series as much, if not more, than its violence. The soft gaze of gods looking at a happy Casca, knowing that in a different circumstances, in a better world, there is a happier place for these people. But here in this world, at least we have this moment for them to be happy despite all the struggle so far. They rested nearby, and Varnish, the ex-witch hunter, decided to ask Shirka to teach her magic, which she agreed to. So the witch hunter becomes a witch. Shirka also managed to grieve for Flora for a bit with God's help when the Skeleton Knight comes to them, reminding them of the armor danger as the previous wearer of the armor. They also now know why Griffith went after Flora, because she's one of the only person that can harm him as a god hand. The skeleton also predicts that the party will encounter the Hawk if they continue on their journey, and it is that time where gods will be tested if he can handle wearing the armor or will it consume him, tackling once more the duality and contradiction of gods as a person, because if he lets anger consume him with the armor, he might not be able to return. And it didn't take long for this to be tested. Casca found a child that grew attached to her and gods, then the group was attacked by crocodiles, a lot of crocodiles that can wield weapons and walk on two legs. Definitely not normal outside of Florida. The group managed to fight back Serpico using his wind equipment, Isidro with his rolling, and even Sirke managed to catch her bulwark quite fast. But the crocodile turns into a giant monster which gods had to fight while injured and trying to control the armor, until eventually the armor win and it consumed him, killing all their enemies because he started to turn to his own party members. A child of light managed to stop him with a vision, and Sirke got through to his ego and pulled him out of the armor. But it proves that gods are not able yet to control the armor. This is Berserk after all. Usually problem don't just magically goes away even when magic is involved. The mysterious kid is also gone while they were fighting, but they decided to continue their journey and arrive at a large port city preparing for war. Sierka Witch's clothing immediately got them into trouble. The party tried to get her to change her clothes, which she refused at first, which makes Isidro slap her head in an incoming card, ruining the hat that was made by Flora. She ran away from the party and Gus tasked Isidro to get her back since he's the dumbass that caused this. And being away from the party, it is the first time Sierka is anywhere near so many people, and the first time she saw with her own eyes how cruel people can be, which can be a bit much. Eventually, both of them met a party member of the Band of Hawk that we know are not inhuman apostle, and they fought against some pirates turning the slave owners. Sierka formed some form of friendship with Sonia, and Isidro formed some form of rivalry with Mule. They got back to their respective group where they got into a normal random fight against drunkards, with Sierka learning how to find these small moments of happiness even in such a world. They spent some time in the city trying to find a ship to continue their journey, but every ship seems to be dedicated to the war, so they cannot find one that can help them reach their destination. Not getting anywhere, Varnish decided to use the power of connection and met his father to request for a ship, but she got trapped to her house instead. Serpico comes back and told the party that Varnish and him won't be joining them, giving them the right to use a ship and returning his equipment, refusing to explain any further. So gods decided to test the two elves in the party to infiltrate the place, which is how the group found out that Varnish tried to sacrifice herself into a political marriage so the group can get their ship, and it shows how much they have become closer when everyone in the group unanimously agreed that they won't accept the ship by abandoning Varnish. They infiltrated a noble party, and since this is Berserk, they're not the only one interested to go into the party. Some monsters are suspiciously lurking, and worse, Serpico is still questioning whether it's safer for Varnish to stay home or continue the journey with them, so he decided to stop them. So he and Guts continue their duel that was stopped during the previous arc. Guts won after they destroyed a lot of pillars, but they need to move fast to Varnish now since the monster they saw might be a sign of an impending war on the city. And as if on cue, the monster crashed the party. Varnish tried to stop it, but she's not built for combat, so despite being able to injure it, she cannot do much else. Thankfully, Guts' party Serpico went to save Varnish, while Guts faced the monster which he took care of quickly. If this is all Berserk, Guts will leave, which he did suggest, but this is a party learning what is beyond surviving, so they decided to stay. Guts will fight the monster attacking the place while Serpico goes out to find people controlling the monsters. Varnish even got some equipment from Sierka. They managed to save the noble party, and Varnish decided to rejoin Guts. They were having a short moment of reunion when Kaniska appeared using the fog, declaring war on everyone. Before they got involved further in the war, they decided to leave. Thankfully, Varney's ex-fiancé decided to help them since he's also planning on leaving, so together they fought their way into the port. They managed to go through without Guts having to go berserk, but a monster army comes out from the sea, so that's where a lot of them gather. Shirka used a big spell that takes a lot out of her. The spell managed to take care of most of the monsters in their way, but when Guts carries Shirka on his back, the big ones came out of the sea before they can reach it, so Guts have no choice but to use his armor. But since the armor activates with Shirka still with him, her soul got inside Guts' armor. Thanks to that, for the first time ever, Guts didn't lose his mind while the armor activated. They can fight the enemy summoner as a party now, since Guts is not attacking his friends while the armor activates, and together they manage to kill the summoner's water summon. But again, before they had a chance to celebrate their wins, once again things got worse because Ganiska has arrived. He attacked Guts, causing his armor to deactivate, and Shirka got thrown back into her own body. Ganiska, realizing that Guts is a branded human that is also an enemy of Griffith, tried to recruit him, which of course Guts declined, and before Ganiska finished Guts for refusing him, another party joined the war. The new Band of Hulk arrived, or more specifically, Zod. This is one of those rare moments in fiction where many different parts of a story move together at the same time creating magic. If you like Game of Thrones when it was still good, this is one of those moments. Zod and his flying army of monsters attack Ganiska, but he's a giant mist so no attack affected him and the world of Berserk doesn't have Haki. Zod was sent flying to where Guts is, and the two decided to leave their animosity to each other for a while and fight Ganiska together. And with Shirka's help, they managed to wound him, which caused the mist to disperse. After Ganiska went away, Guts and Zod almost fight each other again despite all of Guts' wounds, especially knowing that Griffith must be nearby. But Servico managed to talk some sense into Guts, and Zod goes away to return to the Band of Hulk, where Guts and his party gets into a ship and escape the war. From this point of the story will split itself into two, with Guts going through the sea while Griffith went into a war with Ganiska. They mirror each other more than ever here, with Griffith getting more and more famous, becoming a king and savior who's going to fight the Demon King, which is interesting, but there's a reason why people are not invested in him as a character as much. Guy want to be rich and famous, sure Griffith buddy, go off. Comparing him to Guts' struggle with everything life has thrown to him, looking more and more better as time goes on, and also his struggle with his own inner demon, but still despite all of that, he still did not lose his humanity. In Berserk, Guts is by far a more compelling and a far more interesting personage than Griffith, and that is the story of Berserk. How futile some things are in life if you have to lose everything that actually matters, and how much of a struggle it can be to protect these things, these people that are precious to you, and how despite the struggle, there are small moments that make the struggle worth it. And all of it is packaged in such a masterpiece of art and storytelling. This is why Berserk is one of the greatest story ever told, and why Millennium Falcon arc might just be the greatest arc ever told in manga history. I highly recommend you read Berserk even if you stop at this arc and don't move forward to the next arc, Fantasia, which I will eventually go on reading. But for now, I give this a 5. What do you think? Let me know if I missed anything, so leave your thoughts in the comment below and subscribe to the channel. That's about it. See ya.